we have two states, visual states. One is tracking, and the other is flinching. Right? We're either looking for food, or we're getting away from a threat. So when we talk about fighting, it's nice to think about that because we're going to use that a lot. Every fate it manipulates that neuron pattern. I saw something on Nova a little while ago, and I can't do it, but I wanted to practice it, but I showed it to you because it was so cool. If you take a quarter, your brain actually sees the quarter gun, right? Even though it obviously didn't. But your brain does it. It fills in those blanks. In early rastering for distributed computing, there was a lot of work that went behind figuring how to make displays do what our brains naturally do, which is ignore stuff that ain't moving. Right? You take a frame rate with a streaming video stream, and one of the reasons that they're able to show a lot of motion with not a whole lot of data stream is that they don't recreate the static pixels. That stays there. That ain't moving. So let's not send it down the pipe. Let's just keep it on the display. And our brains do that. We have neurons that not only track motion, but suppress surrounding visual data. So we can dedicate more of our processing to tracking something. So if I take the quarter, and I do that arc, one of the reasons that we're able to really track that really well, one of the reasons that when the tip of my sword does a little motion before I come through transition, one of the reasons you're able to see it is that we're hardwired to see it, in part because we have neurons that are actually suppressing everything around it. So we want, when we talk about fighting and figure out our motion and have that moment of engagement, we want to use that against our opponent. Give them an opportunity to suppress stuff. These are not the droids you're looking for, right? Give them an opportunity to suppress that stuff that's actually going to be used against them. So let's go through a snap. The snap, when you're standing in your stance, how many of you stand in a stance that is utterly different than the way you stand when you're talking to somebody at a bus stop? Okay. So I advocate challenging that. Give yourself a stance that doesn't. We get really good at motion. Right? We're going to run for a bus. We're good at it, right? When I go, you don't like fall over, right? You've already you got it down, right? You kind of have this sense of control and stability that you've learned through a lifetime of locomotion. So when you fight, as much as you can, use that. If you've got a stance that is an extreme example of, or a departure from what I'm doing right now, find ways to take those extremes out of your scenes. Okay, let's do this now. Who's fast? Super fast.
Who's under 30?
Get him. No, exactly.
I'm actually thinking about what you're talking about right now.
Good, good. You guys play speed games? Okay, speed games. All right, this speed game? Yeah. This speed game? Right? Okay. So Fingertips, top of the knee. Okay, so you got it nice and deep. Okay. And you come across through the target. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. You're going to come across and you're crack right.
So, like this?
Okay. You do it right. So I'm going to do this.
Okay.
Right, so you want to crack.
Okay.
No, no, the illustration, the reason for that is what I did is I cheated. I know to minimize all the extraneous motion. Right? I've got a technique that gives me a platform to just maximize what it is I actually want to move through space. So the same thing happens with the perfect snap. Your technique, you want your technique to be something that maximizes all of the opportunity for motion in a way that doesn't take away from reinforcing the opportunity for that impulse moment. So when you have your stance, when you start talking about a snap, I keep deconstructing because there's so many little bits that go into that moment of, okay, I'm going to throw a shot. That perfect snap. One of them is your stance. You want your stance to position yourself in such a way that when I'm like this, we're about to fight Leon, right? I want you, I'm going to flood your defensive considerations. I want your targeting computer to be screaming, right? I want you to, you know I launched, right? Here it comes. But you have no idea when or how or where, right? So if you've got a stance that gives some of that up, that takes away some of that ability to flood your opponent's defensive considerations, then you want to think about that, right? So I like the idea of having a stance that's kind of like it's a bus stop stance. All right, you're at the bus talking, you're watching cars drive by, you're thinking about the mortgage or whatever, kids. You're good at it, right? You do it every day. So when you get in armor, and you and I are about to fight, I don't want to do something that I only practice when I'm fighting. I want to do something that I practice all the time. Right? So give yourself a stance that is nice and comfortable. One of the reasons that just staying at a bus stop teaches us to fight is we don't want to fall over, right? We want to be able to respond to a threat. We want to be able to take advantage of an opportunity. Right? We're really good at this. So use it when you're in armor. Practice all the time.
Good question. Do you find that being in a normal stance slows people's footwork down because we're normally too heavy on our heels when we're just standing normal? Or are your drills designed to be explosive from where you're standing normal?
Yeah, I mean, one of the dangers in the bus stop analogy is that bus stops are, you're kind of, you're letting time go by, right? So you do kind of fall back on your heels a little bit, right? But with that said, that fall back on the heel, as soon as the bus starts coming up, right, you haven't appreciably changed your stance.
That's true.
Right? But now you're getting ready to get on the bus, right? So where your weight is this moment of conscious engagement or even subconscious engagement, right? But your stance doesn't change, right?
Right.
So the perfect snap, and I stress, I did not throw a perfect snap, but someday, hopefully. The perfect snap comes from a stance that is utterly comfortable. It's open.